Hello, everyone. My name is Gregory Q. Jenkins. I'm the founder and CEO of Quintasia Studios, and this is the Quintasia Podcast. Welcome back. Now, once again, we love it when we have returning guests. You may very well recognize our guest today, and if you didn't see, she's, like I said, she's a returning guest and she's been on our show before. And if you didn't see when she was on the first time, well, shame on you. Hopefully now you'll get to know a little bit more about her. Our first guest is actually a member of the cast of our show, The Null Hypothesis. She has been with us from the very beginning when we had shot our very first webisode on a very cold day on a rooftop in Queens. So I'm very happy that she's still with us and hasn't, run off in terror. Been through a lot of changes. Her character, she plays Miss Jackson. And originally in the web series that we did, Miss Jackson was an HR person, but we're going to be changing that role up a little bit. Maybe if there's a little time at the end, I'll give you guys a little sneak preview about what the new profession of Miss Jackson is going to be, and talk a little bit more about the new role. It's getting to be a beefier role now that we're going to do when we roll out the actual TV series, which we're planning on. So without further ado, please welcome back to our podcast, Miss Jaclyn Johnson. How are you?
I'm great, Greg. How are you?
I am good. It's been a while since I've seen you. But the last time I saw you was on stage where you were performing in an off-Broadway play.
Yeah.
Now, how about that? Why don't you tell our audience a little bit about the play you were in and how that opportunity came about?
Yeah, the play that I was in was called The Importance of Being Earnestly LGBTQ+. And it was at the Actors Temple Theater in Midtown. And I played Miss Prism. So basically what the show was we kept most of the, I would say 99% of the original script, but it was, a LGBTQIA plus friendly version of The Importance of Being Earnest, somewhat maybe an imagined version of what Oscar Wilde would maybe have written if he were allowed to have written it at the time when he were alive. So the characters of Gwendolyn, Gwen and Cecile were both males. They were both young men. And so, and my character, my love interest, was a female. So that's, those were the major differences that were in this version of The Importance of Being Earnest. So it was fantastic. And I found the opportunity online, actually. I saw an audition notice on Actors Access, and it was my first in-person audition since the pandemic. And I was just so excited, in the pandemic, self-tapes basically became the norm. And that's what we all turned to. But this was my first in-person audition, and it felt good to be back in a room and audition in person. I had to dust off my monologues, and have that rush of only having one chance to perform them instead of um, instead of stopping and re-recording. And if I made a mistake or I didn't like how I sounded, I couldn't do that. So that's like a little extra adrenaline rush in the room. So it was, so my first in-person audition, um, when things opened up, I got cast. So that was awesome. It was awesome. Yeah.
And it was an awesome production as well. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had a chance to see you in the play. Good news, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't see it, my understanding is the production will be back next year. And I don't know if you're returning or not in the production, but definitely, as always, keep an eye out for Jaclyn here. You're definitely going to start to see her in more things, and one of them will hopefully be our show. And wish great things for you. And we're looking forward to being able to see more of your work. So let me also now ask you. Well, you talked about it a little bit. I wanted to know how you felt when you got the part. But let me ask you when specifically. So the very first time, you get the part, you've done your rehearsals, and now the first performance that you give in front of a live audience. What was going through your mind at that time?
Well, I got to say thank you for coming to see the show. It meant a lot to me to see you there and to have your support. So I thank you. That was so kind. So the first, I just try to take every day like as its own, like day by day, and go through the day. And we had a pretty quick rehearsal period, just a few weeks, and maybe 3, I don't know, 2.5, 3. It was very short. And it didn't hit me until opening night that I was premiering in an off-Broadway play. And it just hit me all of a sudden. I was just like, I had that realization. I was like, my dreams are coming true. Here I am in New York City, about to make my off-Broadway debut. Here it is. Like, I'm finally doing it. I'm an artist doing theater in New York. And, like 5, 6, 7-year-old Jaclyn was like jumping for joy. And I could imagine the little girl like jumping up and down in her living room in front of the TV, realizing and living her dreams. So I got pretty emotional and I just broke down and started crying backstage. Like when it hit me that my dreams were coming true and I was actually realizing and living my dream, I just got so emotional and I was just overwhelmed with gratitude and happiness. And I was humbled. I was humbled by all the love and support from my loved ones and grateful for the opportunity and just so happy. And I was just overcome by all those emotions. I just broke down and started crying. People were like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And they were like, "Oh, no worries. She has happy tears. Like, it's happy tears." So,
Well, I think anybody who's in this, who does what you do, understands that, it's a long road to get to that point. And then when you finally get there, it's, all of the struggle, the self-doubt and all of that comes rushing back and you realize, hey, I overcame all of this. Yeah. I'm here today. I made it, Yeah. And this is only the first step. You will go on to do bigger and better things. But it is a BFD. to quote President Biden. um, and I thought it was worth celebrating because, like I said, I really recommend if you didn't get a chance to see this play, go see it when it comes back around next year. Because my understanding is that they're going to be back, and it was just really well done. And of course, you were great as Ms. Prism. And you definitely, if you go see it, you'll get a chance to see. It's nice sometimes when you have the right role that that's a real juicy role, meaning that it's not in terms of the number of lines you have, but it's the impact that those lines can have. And the the spiciness that you can get from the role, if you will. And that was a nice juicy role for you. So, congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely had fun with the role.
It looked like all of you were having fun, and I know we were having fun. In the audience. Let me pivot now, and let me ask you. You mentioned, okay, this was the first in-person interview that you had, since the pandemic. But did you find that the pandemic opened up more opportunities since producers were forced to do more self-tape auditions? Was that your experience, or did you have a different experience?
Definitely, that was my experience. Yes, definitely. More opportunities opened up. Um, yeah, more chances to submit for auditions, and yeah, I feel like it definitely brought more opportunities. Yeah, and especially like just to be able to grow as a theater actor to get more comfortable with the camera and on camera, and learn the tricks of on camera and with lighting and everything.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, definitely. I feel like way more opportunities opened up as a result of self tapes.
One of the things that happened, a number of the members of the cast of our show, when they would do these self tapes, would sometimes post them online. So that's how I got to keep up with, what everybody was doing. And it's interesting to see, the creativity that that comes out in some of these. But I know I can tell you as a producer, well, I didn't normally like to do self tapes. I would never do a self tape audition for like a lead role. I just never did it. With one exception. Breton, I did allow to do a self tape because she had a conflict. And unlike some of the other candidates, she told me about the conflict in advance, and I really wanted her to audition. So I said, fine, you can do a self tape. But for all the other leads, it was an in-person one. But, that costs money to do. You have to rent a space for people to come and audition. Preferably, it's not going to be a space that people, when they see it, are going to go, I'm not going in there. It's got to look reasonably safe. You have to have, hopefully, a lot of times in the places that we did auditions, and it's very common in New York, you'll hear other people, like there's like dance companies in the other room doing numbers. So in the middle of people's audition, you're here 5, 6, 7, 8, or something like that. But I just found with the self tape, well, one, um, I was going to say a couple of things about Actors Access, and I love Actors Access, but it can be expensive if you're going to submit to stuff. But submit self tapes. But it, for the most part, I think more people were able to apply. because, who otherwise would not have been able to apply. And I know for me, it's now going to be, I'm not going to exclusively do self-tapes, but the first round could be a self-tape. Like, I don't need to necessarily see people in person for the first round. When we do that for callbacks, eventually we'll get to the point where, yeah, I got to know the person. So we'll do it that way, but hopefully that's a change that, will bring more opportunity, to more actors out there. So tell me, do you have any other projects that you're working on right now?
I am uh, currently working on finding my next project.
Okay.
So, I have a couple irons in the fire and some auditions to upload. So, we'll see what is meant for me.
And so I kind of teased it at the beginning of the podcast. So for those of you who may not know, so Quintasia Studios, that's our parent company, but we're trying to get a television show off the ground called The Null Hypothesis. And the history of this show is we started out as a web series. When I first did this, I had no intention of making, an actual television show. I wrote a script. Some people read it. Working actors, SAG people read it and they liked it. And I was like, okay. And one thing led to another. And the next thing I know, I was trying to actually produce this, make this thing a reality. But again, still not thinking of it, trying to do this as a full-blown television show. But and okay, so the earlier episodes, they're raw. But by the time we got to episode five we shot on a soundstage. We had professional crew for episode five, and the technical quality was a great leap from the first four episodes. It was much better. Not, ultimate final, what I would call TV quality, but it was quite the leap from the first four episodes. But it was rather expensive to do that episode. Even just that episode cost about $11,000.
Wow.
Yes, to do that. And keep in mind, folks, these were webisodes. So these are like, that episode, I believe, is 19 minutes long. But, that costs it, it wasn't union, and it still cost about $11,000 all said and done, to do. So I quickly said, well, if you're going to continue doing this, one, you need to be union, because if you want to have the greatest opportunity for distribution, it should be a union project, and I want people to get paid. But once I did the budget for having everything being a union shop, wow, that, the cost really explode. And I don't mind sharing this with people, because for those of you out there who might be contemplating doing the same, you'll face the same thing. So we're going to shoot the series in New York. The average cost per episode, now we're not talking for Star Trek, Lord of the Rings, or anything, or Game of Thrones, anything on that level. We're just talking like a normal 1 hour. This is going to be a dramedy, but we'll use a drama as our measuring stick. So the normal cost, production costs, and the New York State Film Commission, on their website, they'll give you these figures. The normal cost is around $5 million per episode.
Wow.
And that's exactly where we're going to be when it's all said and done. Because what you don't realize is how many people a show employs.
Mm-hmm.
When it's all said and done, we're going to employ around 150 people. That's cast and crew.
It's amazing. Yeah.
I mean, it's like its own small little city. And of course, the COVID protocols, which are still in place, has made it more expensive. It's increased budgets on average about 30%. Whatever it used to be, add 30% for COVID. So that's, and we're going to shoot 10 episodes. So if you do the math, 5 million in episodes times 10 episodes is $50 million. Now, last I checked, I had $50 million, but I don't remember where I put it. So I'm going to have to, raise the money like everybody else. And that is where we are. That's the process that we are in now. So if you saw the web series, and if you haven't, I encourage you to see it, because I want you to take this journey with us so that you see the process that we go through. And that's why I have Jaclyn and some of the other cast members on, because I want you to get to know them, and I want you to be with us as we go on this journey. But now we're going to take what we did. What we did was a webisode. Now I want to redo this as a full-blown television series. And as such, and I will go on record, for better or for worse, probably for worse, I will go on record as I'm trying to build a show that's going to last. I want 13 seasons out of this show. And therefore, I'm taking my time to think about the relationships between all of the characters. What are their motivations? Why are these people together? What has brought them together? Why do they stay together? What are the goals of each of the characters? Because I'm trying to write for you guys out there I want this to be something you haven't seen. I want you to see people of color interacting in a way to know that we're business people too. We're not just athletes. We're not just, entertainers or whatnot, but you're going to see, very smart people interacting, but they're also human. They're also flawed because, this has to be TV, so it can't be boring. If everybody was good and perfect, that would be a very boring show. So the part that Jaclyn plays, Miss Jackson. Now, originally, you were going to be an HR person, but I've decided now that role is changing for the TV series. You're going to be chief legal counsel of the firm, and you will eventually leave their parent company, which is Data Treasure, to go when they start off their own business. You will decide to leave Data Treasure. I mean, not Data Treasure. You will decide to leave Donaldson Ramanathan, which is the company they came from, to go with them when they start Data Treasure. And of course, their patriarch, Charlie Donaldson, will come to feel about you the same way he feels about them. He fires them. I don't want to give away too much, but so, and this is a change in the story that we had in the beginning. I will say that I am committed to having because I want this to be inclusive TV. I am committing to having an actor with an actual disability, not an actor playing an actor with a disability, but an actor who has a disability. We had that in the web series. And, much praise to Darius, who played the role of Kevin, is because of, that experience that I want to make sure that we keep that going forward. Now, you're going to see some more changes in the cast. Don't know yet what the final cast is going to look like. It's going to depend on, I'm competing with all the other companies out there who are going to be wanting to hire Ms. Jaclyn here, but hopefully, we'll get things together, but we still got a ways to go. It takes I was just reading before we did this podcast. So Leonardo DiCaprio and Martin Scorsese have been working on a television show for about a decade.
Oh, wow.
So it just goes to show, even if you're, at that level, it could still take a very long time. And unfortunately, their lead actor, not Martin, what I get Martin for, Keanu Reeves, he just decided to bow out. So now they've got to recast who the lead is going to be. So all of these things, and I'm sure we're going to go through that as well. But this is the process of trying to get something to your television sets, ladies and gentlemen, and that's what we're in now. But in the meantime, we have our lovely little podcast where we can get to know our characters a little bit more. So after that very long-winded speech, I'll ask you this final question. What kind of character would you most like to play next?
I would like to play a character that is for me. That
is what?
For me. That
what
comes for me, whatever comes next for me. You know, I'm an actor, and you know, I'm a chameleon, and so I can adapt myself into whatever role the universe has next in store for me. So I'm gonna leave it up to the universe. I'm not gonna limit myself by putting a character into a box, because I can play any character. So whichever is the right one that comes towards me. I know I might be a little like, you know, frou, but
well, let me push on that a little bit. And so would you say that what's more exciting, to play a character that's a lot like yourself or completely different from yourself?
Did I tell you I'm a Gemini?
No, you did not.
Fun fact. I'm a Gemini. So I can find a bit of myself in all characters, or, you know, one of my personalities, I'm sure, is aligned to many, many different characters. So there's fun in playing characters that are like you, or I like to think I'm like my characters in some way. But as an actor, you bring yourself to your roles and your characters. So there's always a piece of you in your character. So, you know, whether they're, you know, more similar to me or not, that's not important to me. You know, like honoring the word on the page and the character, and bringing that person to life, and you know, honoring the writer and the script, and, you know, executing what the director has envisioned. That's you know, what's more important. But yeah, so I feel like I can find myself in any character. Yeah.
Well,
sorry, it doesn't give you like a answer in a little box, a neat little box.
No, that was perfect. I don't think I'm going to be, but I make no promises, ladies and gentlemen, because I can't say that the bug might not get me, but I don't think I'm going to be like Spike Lee or Stan Lee or Alfred Hitchcock, in that I don't think I'm going to cast myself in you know, my projects. But
we'll make a cameo, like, you know.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to do that. I used to think about that, but you know, everybody has their gifts, and I believe that I have my share of mine, but acting is not one of them. So I think that, you know, I'll stay in my lane and let you guys, you know, do your thing. But if I were going to play a character, I have to say I would love to play a bad guy, because the bad guy gets to do all the things that my conscience prevents me from doing. You know, but when you play someone that doesn't have a conscience, you know, that's just fun. But that's just me, and it's so weird. You'll you know, see these characters, you know, who are some of the meanest people on screen, but off screen, the actual actor is like the nicest person. And sometimes you have it the other way around as well. So, but for me, I think it would be fun to play, you know, like a really really memorable bad guy. And, maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll indulge myself one day if I can not be too terrible, and come up with a role that even I could handle. But anyway, it was interesting to know your thoughts on that. And I thank you for stopping by, and it was great to see you. I want to keep seeing you guys until we get this thing off the ground. Hopefully, there'll be some more information next year that we'll have to share with you. Even though it may look like nothing is happening out there, ladies and gentlemen, I assure you, there isn't a day that goes by that some plan I'm not trying to execute that's going to move the ball forward. Like the example I gave, it takes a long time. A lot of you out there might have seen. Okay, now I'm drawing a blank. There was a show on Netflix. It was about a chess player, and I can't think a female chess champion, and I can't think of the name. There's some of you out there going, "Oh yeah, I know what it is." Right now I'm drawing a blank. But anyway, it took that show about 10 years as well.
Oh, wow.
To get on there, because what the writer of the and creator of that show kept hearing is nobody wants to watch a show about chess. But they didn't understand that the show is not about chess. It's about the person. And that people care about. That's the thing that people will relate to. But we're still working on it, even though you don't see anything.
Queen's Gambit or something?
That's it. That's it. The Queen's Gambit. Thank you. Trying a blank. As soon as the little green light comes on, my brain turns off. Yes, the Queen's Gambit. It took a while. It took a long while for that show. It took a long while to make Django Unchained, that film. Even though it's Quentin Tarantino, it still took many years to pull that production together. So it's not unusual. I'm in it for the long haul. I know we will. I want to bring this story to you because, like I said, I believe it's a story you don't get a chance to see. You don't get a chance to see the interaction of people the way that I want to show it to you. And I'm hoping that, and based off of just the webisodes, that's what encouraged me to go on, is the reaction that I got from the webisodes. With all the imperfections and all the other problems with it, it still resonated with people out there. And that's why I think we definitely have to bring this to light. So thank you for stopping by. Thank you for your time. Hopefully this wasn't too painful.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me. I'm always happy to stop by and chat. I like chatting with you, so this was fun.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you out there for tuning in. I hope you will tune in once again when we come back with our next episode. I will say, as I am losing my voice, I will say thank you for watching and/or listening. Bye-bye for now, and see you next time.
Thanks, see you.